Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to Cygnet's webinar Reimagine BoE and Shipping Bill Automate the Import Export Lifecycle in Minutes. We'll wait for 2 seconds and till the other attendees join, and then we will start the session. I am Chaya Malik and I work with marketing team. Let's get started. I'll be your host today for this insightful session. So I'll just give a small brief for this session, why we are here and what we are going to cover. In today's fast-paced trade environment, every minute lost in customs is basically impacting a lot of compliances and a lot of, working capital, and it's keeping on hold. So manually handling bills of entry, shipping bill is slowing down the trade operations. Today, we bring together a distinguished panel of industry leaders and domain experts who have been at the forefront of digital transformation, customs operations, and compliance governments. Together, we will explore how technology, process discipline, and standardization are reshaping the import and export landscape. Let me take a moment to introduce our esteemed panelists for today's session. Firstly, I would like to introduce our moderator of the session, Mr. Jignesh Ghelani, partner at Dhruva Advisors, bringing 20 plus years of experience in indirect tax, customs, and trade compliance. He advises the legal enterprises on policy, litigation, and supply chain governance. With 21, next we have Mr. Bhushan Kulkarni, with 21 years of experience in EXIM, custom, DGFT, and logistic. Mr. Bhushan leads custom and trade compliance at Škoda Auto Volkswagen India, driving efficiency and governance across import export operations. Next, we have Mr. Sandesh Pathapapa, Program Manager for Digital Transformation at Bosch Limited, bringing 20 years of experience designing and implementing award-winning digital solutions across global supply chain, import and export operations. And last but not least, Mr. Anil Rajnala, the business head at Cygnet.One, is he is a seasoned professional with a strong focus on business process transformation using technology. He also has 30 years of experience encompassing business operations, customer operations, and distribution in various fields, including tax technology, telecom, digital transformation, office automation, and international BPO operations. And we also have Mr. Rinkle Modi, the subject matter expert for the BOE and shipping bill automation. We are privileged to have all of you with us today. Thank you for so much joining. Over to you, Jignesh sir.
Thank you, Jaya, for your kind introduction, and happy to be moderating this very important subject, customs. Customs has been actually the focus area, and especially after advent of GST, from a company standpoint, and as well as from the government standpoint. Uh, so when you talk about customs, the key aspect is the entire supply chain, import and export function of the company. And import and export function of the company clearly, cut across the entire supply chain pattern of the company. Now, the most important and the most critical, I think, the stages of an import-export life cycle or the documentation perspective is the bill of entry and the shipping bill, and which actually is also the key topic of our webinar. Now, why so? I mean, there are a lot of decision aspects which any person or an entity makes at the time of filing of bill of entry or filing of shipping bill. I mean, just to name a few: classification. one of the very most important decision making aspect which any company would make across, where my product is getting classified. And we all will be very aware in terms of, how how it is prone to litigation. Simple example like CKD vis-a-vis, parts. I mean, it can have huge ramifications across the company. Second most important aspect or the decision making aspect is valuation. Valuation is very important because that from an import standpoint, it drives the quantum of customs duty, and from an export standpoint, it also drives the quantum of benefits which the company intends to avail. And when you talk about valuation, yes, there are a lot of documentation, the way we make declarations before the customs authorities. Are we transacting with the related parties or not? So, so that's another area. The third area is the rate. Now, rate, when you talk about it, has very many facets in terms of, what is the rate, what is the exemption, benefits, concessional rate of duties, FTAs, RTAs, are we considering all that? And when you talk about that, it comes along with, the documentation and the compliance aspect. And not to forget, last but not the least, there are many regulations apart from customs, which actually are important to take note of. I just to name a few, in case of imports, one has to look also, BIS applicable licensing requirements. Similarly, in case of exports, one has to look in terms of SCOMET, in terms of whether, again, licensing requirements, whether restricted, prohibited, so on and so forth. So sum and substance, I mean, bill of entry and shipping bill are the key important stages, documentations in the life cycle of the import export function. I know which one needs to really be mindful of. Keeping this into perspective, I think I'll have, I'll move to Bhushanji first to you, to, I mean, any company, it is very important. I mean, especially when you talk about, say, automotive companies, they run on razor thin margins, tight timelines. Now, how do you see in this evolving scenario, what is the role of the customs processes to ensure, resilience and competitiveness?
I think we have an audio glitch with Bhushanji.
So let me move to Anil, to you. Then,
Yeah.
I mean, we can catch up Bhushan, once he's back. I mean, you have seen, these particular issues across industries. Now, what you see, the common challenges, which the enterprises, face, while managing BoE shipping bill, I mean, in their life cycle today.
So two aspects which come up very easily. One is, of course, this huge PDF formats with multiple data points of more than 180 to 200 plus.
Right.
And the minute you get these documents, the first and foremost part of any digitization would be to ensure that how do you extract the data. So to a very large extent, things have been happening manually. So how do you extract data from these? And a lot more gets behind this, because when you talk about a bill of entry, it has to again get mapped with a invoice which has also come parallelly, a reconciliation there. Parallelly, there is something which has been done at the customs end, and that gets into the ICEGATE. So the data has to come from there. You have to validate the same input data post reconciliation from the invoice has to go into the compliance tool for the government compliance also to be mapping. So I think the major challenge is to digitize this data, to ensure that this data is available. And while I am digitizing, the number of complications into picking up the data points from these documents, including part number, subpart number, and they might be in alphanumeric. How do you pick it up, put it into the right context, doing it? And that is where we saw a large problem most of the team members were facing across in industry. And this problem is generic, irrespective of the industry that it is talking about. These problems are generic. The only complication that comes along with is integrating with the respective ERP of each one of them will have his own set of the source system separate, and thereby to get it. And if it is multinationals, all the more bigger challenge of seeking the global IT's permission to get into
Right.
that entire integration and seeking the data part of it. And there is lately, we've seen one more thing is, I think just a couple of months back, RBI had gone into an absolute double tingy of starting putting penalties in case the AD bank the accounts are not squared off and they have not confirmed back to them saying that the respective EDPMS or IDPMS portal has been updated. For that, again, the source is your incoming or outgoing, the shipping bill or the bill entry, and then getting it back into the bank to ensure that please square off. We have squared off everything, custom paid, amount received, whatever needs to be done. In case it's an export, we have received the required payment, square it off, tell RBI the transaction is absolutely smooth. Because if that does not happen, the alert goes to ED. And understand one thing, if anything goes to ED, none of us professionals come to know. It is only the promoters who come to know. It goes straight away, those EDs letters go straight to the directors. And from there, the entire challenge starts percolating. And this is the kind of challenges that we have seen across industry. The more the volumes of imports and exports, the more the challenges that coming across. And parallelly, we also see that in the moving future, most of the countries will be going for e-invoicing, global e-invoicing. That will add one more fresh offset new challenge, which is not there today. Some of them are there, but I am sure at many of the places, along with customs, these things will get interlinked and the challenges across that will happen. So that is in a nutshell the kind of challenges the industry is facing with the perspective of automation.
So I think that also has a significant impact in terms of, to give a simple example, when you say, right, whether I've received money and the transaction needs to be squared off. And that also direct has an impact in terms of if I'm claiming any benefits, I need to ensure that the money is received.
Yes, yes,
If not, then the
yes.
repercussions are huge from the company standpoint. So yes, I rightly hear in terms of, digitization is something which you are saying. I mean, in terms of that would really help. Now, coming to Bhushanji, the question to you is that, I mean, automotive supply chain really run on razor thin margins. Now, having said this, there are tight timelines which one needs to really adhere. Now, how do you see this role of customs processes, BOE, shipping bills evolving to ensure, resilience and competitiveness?
Yeah, nowadays, time is money. So
Right.
any kind of delay in terms of reaching the material to the plant, it will have ramifications or repercussions in all fronts in terms of paying the penalties to the customs department. Delay in reaching the material will cost you a production cost. Then further the deliveries will also get affected. Then you are uh, short on your commitments to the internal and external customers. So time is nothing but money. So you have to have a robust system in place, working up and kicking and live, to ensure that once you have the documentation in place, once you have the complete documentation through, then the further process of filing the bill of entry, getting it custom cleared, getting the duty payment done, getting the out of charge done. If there are any queries from the department, you get those queries settled within the timeline, and then make reach that material to the production line in time. And nowadays all auto sector or additional sectors also, apart from auto sectors, every company wants to work on JIT basis, just in time basis.
Mm.
Nobody wants to maintain the inventory for a longer period, because again maintaining inventory is a cost. So practically saying, you don't have any buffer at any stage on the in the supply chain, throughout, right from the supplier's end to your end, and your end to the distributor, and finally the end customer. So one has to have a robust system in place and ensure that it is working fine on day in and day out. So that is the cost of customs processes in the manufacturing and sales.
I think what we hear is, why don't we leverage technology, right? To see to it that we inculcate technology in our processes to ensure that there is efficiencies built in. I mean,
We
just
have to.
yeah.
We have to, because see, manually this is not possible, and especially when you think of upper scales or huge transactions in terms of import and line item of imports, or in terms of automation, then the things will never work for you. So now I won't say it is a need of hour. I'll say it is a must before you start your business.
I think very rightly said, I mean, technology is something, if we are able to use it well, it will definitely bring in efficiencies in our operations. For that
Definitely,
matter, be it any
absolutely.
operations, but for us, in terms of an import and export, it's very important so that because it has clearly impact on our, bottom line in terms of our
Of
sales, in
course.
terms of purchases. Now, coming to you, Sandesh, I mean, you have led, digital transformation programs across multiple business functions and at Bosch. Now, what
Right.
made, import, export, and supply chain process a priority area for modernization? What are your thoughts around that?
Thanks for that question, Mr. Jignesh, and good evening, everyone. As a program manager and a supply chain solution designer, right? So, driving digital transformation across Bosch's many different business function. One of the main or the bottleneck where we saw was on the supply chain was on the import and the export supply chain processes, because this is key because it sits on intersection of three different factor. I mean, interjunctions. One, it's on operational efficiency. Another is regulatory compliance and the customer satisfaction. So having these factors led us choose the pick the import export process as the priority, because it involves, first thing is on the it involves high compliance and the risk exposure, right? In any import export, we are dealing with BOEs, shipping bills, all of which are compliance critical, right? A single error can lead to either penalties, delays in the duty drawback claims. This became a biggest risk. I mean, this big risk made it a clear candidate for digitization. Then comes the repetitive work. As Anil rightly mentioned, if you talk about the BOE document itself, there are 100 to 200 plus data points in it. So imagine a person going through this BOE document and referring this and filling up his or her system on a day-to-day basis, right? And if you multiply that into high volumes, so every activity being done manually and repeatedly, right? This
Yeah.
becomes another factor to choose import and the export. Then comes the third aspect, which is the cross-functional dependencies, right? So everything works in silos. So with it, logistics, finance, procurement, and trade compliance. When I talk about silos, I'm talking about the digitization of this, right? So, so digitizing this, getting all the data together, right? Breaking up the silos and improving this end-to-end visibility is something which is a need of the hour, because tracking and traceability became a big challenge, and everything relied on either a phone call or an email, right? So this became another aspect that the cross-functional dependency has to be sorted out, right? And then, of course, the fourth aspect comes from the financial impact side of it. So whether it's duty drawback, road tab, right, or even a delay in BOE filing, right? These are like very time sensitive, and it can
Hemorrhages.
have a direct money impact, right? So this was the having said all the other factors, whenever the money or the cost savings come into picture, that will become the biggest candidate to choose any particular function, right? So I would sum up all these things together, be it the financial impact or the cross-functional dependencies, and repetitive and manual, high volume manual work, or compliance and risk exposure. So
I think
a mixture of all these things, along with many other aspects, made us choose import and export as the right candidate for digitization.
I mean, very rightly put across and very rightly summarized. And if I look also from a taxation standpoint, I mean, the smoother import and export functions, it is very easy for a tax function to really operate, and helps in minimizing the risks vis-a-vis the tax authorities. Be it your customs authorities or be it foreign trade policy (DGFT), as you mentioned, the benefits which you claim, the duties which you pay. So that's very helpful. Now, but having said this, it is easy to talk about digitization. It is easy to talk about, built-in technology. And somewhere we all believe collectively that, technology, leveraging technology, I would say, it's the need of the hour. But it is easy said than done. We all know that, the only, I mean, constant is nothing but change. So we have to move to leverage technology. But having said this, I mean, digital transformation, or it's not only technology. It's also about people. It's about also processes change. It's basically, I would say, it's a mindset change. Therefore, I always say, COVID is a blessing in disguise. It has forced the companies, it has forced, the people to have a mindset change and start thinking, how do I really leverage technology? So is the situation even, in the taxation field. So how, I mean, leading these kind of transformation projects, how do you really build acceptance among regional teams, customs coordinators, operation staffs, adopting this digital, first processes? as you have rightly said, it cut across so many functions. So what are your thoughts around this, Sandesh?
That's a crucial aspect of successful transformation, and you're absolutely right. Technology is just one part of the equation. Building acceptance amongst the teams, be it the planners to the CHAs to the freight forwarders to the operations staffs, require a thoughtful blend, of change management, also empathy, and also the major thing is the strategic communication, and how we approach such it's hanging on a thin thread, and how we approach to tackle this is one is early involvement, of all these stakeholders. These are the end customers, right? We at Bosch, we involve all the related stakeholders early, so that there is a concept of co-creation. We enable the stakeholders early in the design phase itself, and not just we come up with a solution and say, hey, this is what we have got, please use it. So instead, we involve them early and we co-create a solution, right? So we conduct workshops, understand their pain point. We put out a value stream mapping, which identify the pain points, and we involve them throughout the journey, giving them constant update. This is what we are trying to do. This is what was the pain point, and this is how we are ready to tackle, right? So yeah, the first point will be on the co-creation and the early involvement itself, right? And then a big question comes for any change, right? What's in it for me, right?
Right.
So
It's a
communication
fundamental
of why.
question.
Yeah. So, why should I do it? That's a basic question comes with any change, right? Be it technology or anything, right? So a clear communication of value with real world example, right? So the value can come in cost savings, in cost of manual efforts reductions, in cost of fewer manual entries, in in terms of faster customs clearance, or it can be anything. So the more clearer we communicate the value to the user, the better the change management process will be, right? So along with this, once we, of course, we cannot involve the entire set of users in the co-creation phase itself. That is when the training, and the support related to a particular solution goes, right? So we provide hands-on training tailored to each function, tailored to each persona, right? So the training, it's not one shoe fits all, right? So a persona of a planner will be a completely different when it's compared to a persona of say a person handling logistics or a person who's a CHA, right? So we provide tailored training on all our applications, persona based, so we give them tailored trainings, right? Along with this, once we are rolling out, we ensure that there's an ongoing help desk where the users can reach out and get immediate assistance. So this is one thing. And the most important aspect here to imbibe change management is how the leadership aligns and advocates this particular change or particular solution, right? So we ensure our leaders are aligned with what our vision, and we use them as our mascots to actively advocate this change, so that they endorse, their endorsement will will lower the resistance, I would say.
I think very interesting perspective which we have given on co-creation, and you have touched a very important aspect when you say, right, people, it touches people. So I mean, you said empathy, very important in case of any change management, to make it really effective, because eventually what we all want, that it is implemented well, so at the ground level we see efficiencies and we see its value. Now, having said this, coming you to Anil, you have witnessed this, right? In terms of implementing these kind of projects. So, can you share some example where automation has created not just efficiency but new way of thinking about compliance or trade operations? Now, so my question to you is, can you share
I
your
got the point. I got the point. I'll just
yeah,
let me. I think one was we are talking about co-creation, but here the co-creation is within the ecosystem. It is while we are talking this as a process, and when it is inwards, whether it is domestic or imports, has always been a little, I would use the word neglected, to the tune that the automation or the outward has happened. And thanks to even the compliance part of it, which has been so rigorous in India in the last 7 years, that the outward part has become everything end-to-end automated, and inward has remained still a laggard trying to pick it up, whether it's a domestic invoice or it's an import. And in import, of course, there is both of them. The invoice is also there. And I'll just take one such example. And we are talking to one of the airlines. And for the airlines, while the services are all 100% domestic, right from the aircraft down to everything is imported. From the time the aircraft lands over here, that is imported, and every single part therein is imported. The service contracts are imported, and look into their complexities when they get into an AMC, and when the repairs take place, half of them are covered into a replacement scheme, half of them
Right.
they have to buy. So from this organization's perspective, he gets imports of goods where sometimes custom need not be paid, because again he will have to export a default part back and get a replacement part against that. Some of them they will import for which customs have to be paid. Each of these transactions have to be recorded into the account book accordingly. And the same thing has to go back to the bank to tell them that this replacement ke samne I have got these goods and it is squared off. And they need to in turn tell RBI so that they know. Now, this entire part involved taking the bill of entry, digitizing it, first mapping it, the bill of entry with the PO, then taking it across, then ensuring it that one is mapping it with whatever has gone to the customs along with the ICEGATE, do a reconciliation, map it with the in the SAP with the payment system that, okay, against this bill of entry, the payment has gone, required customs have been paid, and then there is a transaction through something called an IDPMS and EDPMS that goes through one more system through RBI to the respective banks. The banks
Right.
have to confirm that this transaction has been squared off. Only then RBI is alert, and RBI does not get the square off. It goes across to them. So the process that we gave was digitizing the document, from the ERP taking the PO details, the vendor details, mapping it, reconciling it, then reconciling with the IceGate data, taking it back across with the payment part of it, reconcile, and then an auto mail going across to the respective AD bank saying that this transaction with these set of parameters, everything have been reconciled along with the payment. And there again, they don't reply to a mail. So we gave them a link. On that link only they have to click. And then we say, whatever you're squaring off, just put the transaction ID so that we have a confirmation back. So that when RBI sends out an alert, we can at least send them that, look, this part has happened. Now, at their end, there used to be one or two people always sitting at the AD bank doing nothing but persuading them to close loop. And
Right.
anything which was pending, the query used to go to the directors or the MD, and a whole set of ball rolling was happened. This entire part got automated to that entire thing, twice taking it from the ERP, from the government department, reconciling that entire thing, continuous email going, not happening, second reminder going to the bank. Maybe earlier they used to spend maybe 15 to 20 days. Now somebody goes only once in 15 days for only those residual stuff which has got some understanding. Otherwise, the banks have agreed that you send a link and we will respond to them. So this end-to-end solutioning has given a lot more value to the entire thing, peace of mind, and ensuring that the entire aspect happens far more smoothly for someone whose entire incoming services and entire materials is all imports. So that's the kind of challenge that somebody has seen, and a solution against the same.
No, no, very, very interesting. I think you really nailed down and give very granular aspects. I mean, it just gives a food for thought that how much one will have to really look in depth in terms of the entire processes if you wish to function, or automate any function. Because we also have external stakeholders, right? RBI and so on and
Yes.
so forth. So that's really important so that we are very mindful in terms of, when we make the automation. But having said this, Bhushanji, over to you. I mean, if you were to reimagine the future of global trade operations, what would be your top priority? Speed, compliance, visibility, and why?
I would put visibility in the first place, because one has to have a visibility as to what is that he want to achieve in the business, whether it is volume, whether it is scale, whether it is time, whether it is compliance. Of course, compliance is paramount because that is something which you cannot avoid or bypass or do it at a later date. So visibility, once you have the visibility in place, then automatically speed and compliance will fall in place. So
Absolutely.
once you have the visibility that yes, I have to import particular commodity or particular project, or this is what I have to do in import and export transactions, then when do you want to do it? So more clarity in your visibility will bring in more clarity as to what speed you have to travel through, whether you want one agency getting engaged or multiple agencies getting engaged at multiple fronts, whether you do it in series, whether you do it in parallel, and what all sort of compliances will have to tackle with, because there is a customs act, there is an DGFT, there is an FTP, there is BIS, there is SIMS, there is whatnot. We have n number of compliances to be met with apart from customs act. And every now and then these compliances rules are being changing, ever changing, as you rightly said. Constant change is the only constant. So one has to keep himself updated on day to day basis as to what was the yesterday's compliance, what is the change for today, and what would be the change for tomorrow. And once you get that visibility, you have to start building the processes, start building the software solution tool with complete agility to compensate every change possible. I mean, you cannot
And
have a rigid system with only fewer options available, and then for every change, you have to go for a new, completely revamping systems and things like that. So,
uh,
I would put visibility in first place, followed by compliance, and then speed.
I completely second, your thought, because it's very important that one has a complete clarity and visibility. Because if you have that, the rest can follow, and it can lead to a meaningful solution, which is
Yes.
acceptable, which is implementable, and which can show results at the ground level. Just because you had a proper clarity and a proper vision. I think very well put across, Bhushanji. Coming to you, Sandeji. I mean, if you look, say, 3 years, 5 years down the line, I mean, this is an ever-evolving field, right? What we have, we were not talking about, digitization or automation so much, before COVID, and now it's suddenly picking pace. So if you look, ahead 3 years, 5 years down the line, what does a digitally mature, organization, import exporter look like? And what are the key enablers for that?
Okay. So I'll split the question into two. First, let me talk how if you take 3 to 5 years from now, right?
Mhm.
So the digitally mature organization, right, especially in import export, will be combination of agility, intelligence, and resilience, right? So this can be achieved by usage of advanced technologies and mainly data-driven decision making. It's no more. Guesswork. A decision is not made out of somebody's gut feeling or guesswork, right? So it has to be a data driven decision making, right? And I mean, if you ask me, any organization who is looking forward, right? So few things come into my mind, right? So one is having a end-to-end digital supply chain integration. So I also spoke in the previous question, right? Uh, we were talking about various disparate systems, right? Whether from, I mean, even when we could talk about sourcing, logistics, customs, delivery, right? Mr. Bhushan mentioned, getting visibility and getting a real-time visibility, right? So that is the key. So in 3 to 5 years down the lane, so I foresee a system which will have real-time visibility cutting across from sourcing to the logistics to the customs to the delivery, and where multiple stakeholders and partners are involved, right? And this can only happen when there's seamless data exchange, be it with the suppliers, partners, regulators. And the data exchange also, where I see, is via modes like API, and when it comes to financial transaction, more like blockchain based data exchange. This is one part of it, and digitizing the end to end supply chain, right, and integrating it, right. Next comes, once we have the visibility built. So visibility, building the visibility is the first part of the puzzle. Then how can we use advanced technologies like AI to have a AI driven decision making predictive analytics, especially mainly, for example, demand forecasting, risk management, route optimization. AI driven decision making will aid a human decisions even more with the proper data points, right? And now with the advancement of generative AI, so sky is the limit. So I foresee AI and generative AI and agentic AI to take over not just supply chain or not just import export function, but also taking over digitization for any organization as a whole. Then the one more aspect is like I mentioned in my previous answer also is on the human aspect of it. How do you get a hyper personalized customer experience? How do you get a persona based personal experience which will touch the empathy of several different user base, right? So this is another thing, going moving away from the technology. If I see the soft aspect of it, this is another place where I see in 3 to 5 technologies or solutions coming up with personalized customer experience, right? So having said this, having talked about end-to-end digital supply chains integration, AI-driven decision making, and sustainable operations, right? And hyper-personalized customer experience. So main thing which I see in 5 years is are robustly built cybersecurity frameworks and also the frameworks around data privacy. So we already India is already trying to implement DPDPA equivalent, which is more or less equivalent to GDPR, right? So this is where I see many applications in the future having a tight and a secure cloud infrastructure and a resilient, secure and a resilient infrastructure, so that there are no threats to any of the application hosted on cloud or on-prem. Now coming to the second part, the key enablers, right? So which will separate the leaders from the laggards is how do you a leader will always invest in upskilling and fostering the innovation culture within the organization, within the team and the organization itself, right? So this comes the first. So how do you create your digital talent and the culture within the team, and also look out for digital talent outside your organization as well. So Cygnet being one of such partners which we which are happy to us be associated with. Then comes how do you build the data strategy and the governance so that you have clean integrated data which you can take to generate insights out of it. Then technology adoption, this becomes the key. So how do you embrace future technologies like AI, generative AI, agentic AI, blockchain, cloud, edge computation, everything? How do you adopt this technology, right? And then of course partnerships, agile. How are you partnering with and building an ecosystem with tech providers, startups, so that you get in fresh ideas and expertise, right? So this is what I feel,
I
which
think
this is how I see next 3 to 5 years.
no, no, absolutely. I mean, data-driven decision making, as you have rightly pointed out, and with AI, generative AI or agentic AI. I mean, as you rightly mentioned, it is sky is the limit, and the need is for upskilling. I will move to Bhushan, I mean, Anilji quickly. I mean, what are your thoughts? Going forward, how technology, reshaping the entire import-export function.
Yeah, more than reshaping, I think we are still into that primary phase of we need to shape up. So first and foremost, whatever that we are doing things manually, I
Right.
think the first thing we need to do is to ensure that let's start digitizing. Let's have starting collecting this data across, specifically for the inward part of it. That's the one critical part. Second, of course, is like in absolutely in some part of the finance function, the respective authorities have been very graceful with the APIs being available, so the integration happens seamlessly to get the data and do it. I think within the custom domain, this one large is expected. So if one starts having those government APIs available seamlessly for ICEGATE data, of course, through the GST, it is available for there are quite a few other data points like for road tape and other stuff where you have to go take the data, get into the reconciliation, understand from the shipping wheel perspective. I think that would be one request note per se, which we will keep reaching out to independent forums to the government to do it. And third part, which is happening across the globe, and that is the movement of these documents. Each of these documents have to move, whether it is an invoice or a shipping bill. And Europe, they have something called the PEPAL as a document exchange available, which practically moves the document from one source system to second source system instantaneously, even across the globe. I think that is one more thing which is likely to see the light of the day with the implementation of global invoicing. And that in turn can help propagate people to go beyond invoice and start sending documents also, supporting documents also. So the minute these documents start reaching on time from one source system to second source system, instead of lying into someone else's inbox, not being addressed for few days or lying with someone else, I think the process efficiency and productivity will go up in a very large way. So these are few things which are likely to happen. E-invoicing being one of them, and using these document exchanges to start sharing the documents online. And of course, the basics is move out of this physical or manual repetitive work and start automating that entire part.
I think interesting perspective. While yes, entire end-to-end supply chain, it's a great vision. From an India perspective, let's have our basics first of all, in place, and at least automate, the basic processes and digitize the records, which will really help to achieve our larger vision to have entire end-to-end, supply chain being really automated. So
And
I think
even from the
that's yeah.
one more point, even from the perspective where there's been a lot of buzz and we all talk about AI and generative AI, but the basics of any AI to get implemented is a structured database. So unless I don't have the entire data into one single platform, a single source of truth, AI can
That's
is will
that's
just
that's
remain
a
a dream.
that's a huge task in India to have a structured database, and one will have to really, all companies along with professionals will have to put real efforts so that we really, mint, or rather, have the benefits of AI. Very, very well put across. Quickly, one liner from Bhushanji and Sandesh, in this space we have heard it's not only the company, but there are functional experts and also technology partners. So just one line from both of you. I'll start with Bhushan. What do you think, I mean, partners like, Cygnet can uh, play in this co-creating the future, which is there. So one line from Bhushanji and one line from Sandeshji. Yeah.
Very crucial and very value added, and it can play a role of deciding or make or break decision also, because unless until you have database in your hand, many informations or many decisions are converted into failure because of improper or incorrect data availability, because the data was not available with required accuracy, with required parameters and all. The decisions which were taken with half the data, half cooked data, the decisions later on turned into incorrect decisions for the organization. So having that data in place at the right time, at the right structured manner, so that the analysis can be done in a correct manner, and then results can be obtained for the betterment of the company. So I would say very crucial and very important.
Just one line from you, Sandesh.
Back to Mr. Bhushan. So partners like Cygnet, like they're not just solution providers. We see them as a co-creators of our digital ecosystem, right? So one example is the BoE. We have automated the BoE and the shipping bill. So what earlier was a Herculean task to get the data wait from our CHAs and freight forward to send data in Excels. So now it's a completely automated system thanks to Cygnet. So where they convert the BOEs and the shipping bills to a meaningful or a structured, formatted reports, which we use to have our own insights. We take out the insights so that the management or even the end users, right, they have a single view. Nobody has to do any manual data entry. So like I mentioned, they're not just solution providers. We see them as co-creators, because they have a good they have a ability to have a good regulatory expertise, good technological innovators, and the way they work with us, it's completely commendable. So yeah, very happy to be associated with Signet.
Thank you for this. I'll hand over to Wrinkle, to you with this. I thank you all for participating in this session. With this, I hand over to Wrinkle to give a brief overview of the solution.
Before we move to Wrinkle, there is one question from our attendees, and it came way along back. So I would like team you to answer. So there is one person, Vincent DeMello from UPL Limited, who is asking what is the way out if we have hundreds of bill of entry and shipping bill every month to have the data compiled quickly.
I
So you
think,
can use
yeah, please.
yeah, you can use Cygnet's tool if you are not using it at this moment, which can
Right.
give you an extraction of bill of entry as well as shipping bill in an Excel format, and then very quickly you can compile the data the way you want it. Because currently we are using Cygnet tool, and believe me, we are extracting 380 data points from one bill of entry, and every data point has got its own way of significance in some or other way. So there is hell lot of data which, if you sit across for analysis, you can have an analysis for every data point, and it can emerge you with some good decision or good solution for future. So you can use this extraction tool to get your data compiled very quickly,
Right. And
and
it also
and on
helps.
real time basis, and on real
Yeah, and
time
it
basis.
also helps compiling hundreds or even thousands of BOEs and shipping bills in
Yes,
one
yes,
go.
absolutely.
Thanks, everyone. Vincent sir is also saying thanks. Okay, so we'll move to Wrinkle. Wrinkle, how about you can showcase the solution which we are discussing for?
Sure. Let me just introduce myself here. So I will just share my screen to demonstrate this tool first, and then we can have a quick Q&A if we have any. Uh, so is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes, Wrinkle.
Okay, so the basics of this automation tool is that whatever the bill of entries or the shipping bills that is coming from the ICEGATE portal, right? So that is coming into one centralized email address where you will have that, like whenever the CHA will be creating a bill of entry or shipping bill, you will get one email saying that out of charge bill of entry has been created, or the final copy of the bill of entry has been created, and there is an attachment in there in that email with the actual PDF file, right? So that is the actual file which is having 380 plus entries, like Bhushan sir has mentioned. So what we have to do is, if someone is not utilizing any tool for the automation and part, so they will have to first download these PDFs. And as we know that we have hundreds of or thousands of transactions coming on a monthly basis, right? So to doing this exercise on a manual daily day-to-day basis is very like repetitive work. First we have to download these files, and then once the download of the file has been done, we have to extract the data from that. And if there are 360 plus fields are in the PDF, there can be multiple line items also. If someone has imported multiple goods for that specific and bill of entry, then it can have a multiple line of entries. So if they have imported 10 goods, then there will be 10 line items which will be having a 380 entries, right? So you can multiply this by the line item that we get. So you can get the complexity where how much time it will take to do this activity manually if it is not for the automation part, right? So seeing this as a challenge, Cygnet has come up with the solution for which will be automating from the right go of your Outlook emails where your emails are coming. It will automatically read all your emails. It will filter out which is the specific email that is came for the bill of entry or the shipping bill. It will then download these PDFs files from these emails. Once the download of the PDF has been done, it will start extracting the data from that file. And as someone has mentioned that this is the unstructured data. And in today's world, the structured data means everything. If you have structured data, you can do a lot of things after that, right? So after the getting this data in unstructured manner in the PDF, the tool will start extracting the data and it will put this data into a specific structured format called Excel or the CSV file, which you will be having all the data from that specific file of PDF for all line items, right? So this in this scenario, end-to-end scenario, we can also do the automation and integration. So let's say if someone is having SAP as an ERP system and they want to push all this data back to that SAP system, right? So it is also possible using this tool. So after all this scenario, if we just assume that whatever the emails that is coming right from the email to your ERP, everything is sorted, right? So this is the automation part where Cygnet tool will be helpful to extract and validate and then generate the data in a structured manner. Before going for the demo part, for the quick demo, do we have any questions?
Not yet. Right.
Okay, okay, sure. So I'll just start the demo. So Cygnet has our own proprietary platform that is called Automation Base, which is an RPA platform. Where we have RPA bots for bill of entry and shipping bill both. If you see here, we have already bill of entry bot installed, and in the emails, as we have mentioned that from the ICEGATE, you will have emails like this where it will be having a PDF as an attachment. Okay. So what we'll just do is we have a folders where we will be having the files that will be transformed. First, it will download the file into a specific folder, then it will start extracting the files. Then once a successful extraction is done, it will aggregate all the files in structured manner in a specific output format. So this is the folder structure where you can get all the duplicate files or the error files or the successful processing files, and everything will be there. Along with all these, we also support the consolidation of files. So if someone wants the consolidation based on every month or every year or every quarterly basis, it is also possible with this tool. So I'll just continue. If you see every folder is currently empty. Now, once I will start the execution, the job will be started. And if you see the email that has been there in the unprocessed folder, it was already been processed, then they moved to the processed folder. The attachment, which is having a PDF file, it is downloaded. And now it will start the extraction of the PDF. Now the extraction time, it will be directly dependent on the how much big the PDF is. If the PDF is, for example, let's say 100 pages, will be like, it will take more time. It will be, if it is having less pages, then it will be having a small time. So once the extraction will be completed, you will see that the file will be moving to the archive folder as this is the successful extraction. So the PDF will move to the archive folder, and you can be able to see this is the actual bill of entry, and this is the Excel, which has the data that has been extracted. Along with that, as I already mentioned, we also do the consolidation, daily, monthly, yearly, financial advice, and there are multiple options we can do. So as you can see, all the data that was there in the PDF has come into the structured Excel format now. And the same goes with the shipping bill also, because the process will remain same for both bill of entry and shipping bill part. So I think this is it from mine as a part of demo. Any questions, any queries that we can address?
I think we don't have as of now.
Yeah, but
Uh,
there is someone who is
Mahek Shah has raised his hand.
raised his hand. Yes. Hello, Mr. Mahek.
if not audible, then you may ask to put the query
Yeah.
in chat box.
You will have to write the thing. I think audible might be difficult. You will have to.
Okay, done. If anyone of you will be having any query, since we are short of time, you can drop your queries at inquiry@Cygnet.One. I'll drop the email ID in the chat box. And thank you all the panelists for the today's day. And thank you for the insightful informations and this session. This was really good session. and attendees, we will be sharing the recording link as well with you. So thank you.
And Mr. Mahek, you might just share us your email ID or phone number. Maybe offline we will connect with you and take your query.
Thank you.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much, everyone. Have a nice
Thank
day.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.